Welcome to Beyond You, the podcast where we dive deep into healing, rediscovery, and the building the life you truly deserve. I'm Samantha, your host and guide on this journey. If you're ready to move past toxic relationships, reconnect with your true self, and create authentic connections, you're in the right place. We'll be having real conversations, sharing practical tips, and offering the kind of support that helps you just not survive, but thrive. Each week, we're unpacking how to heal from the past, rediscover who you are, and building a future that feels like you. So whether you're just starting your healing journey or been on the path for a while, let's do this together. Let's get started. I'm so glad you're here with me today. If you're listening, chances are you've been through some tough stuff. Maybe a toxic relationship or some other painful experience that's left you feeling stuck. I just want you to know you've already done something amazing by showing up here, by taking that step to seek healing. So first off, let's celebrate that. Okay? I know this is the first episode, and I'm so glad the fact that you guys took the time to just listen and take time for yourself. So today we're talking about what it actually takes and what it looks like to start healing after a toxic relationship. And spoiler alert, it's not always pretty and it's definitely not a straight line. But the fact that you're here means you're ready, and that's huge. So let's get started. Okay, so let's be real for a second. When you leave a toxic relationship, there's this weird space where you're free physically, but emotionally you might still feel trapped. And I've heard this time and time again with clients that I've worked with, whether it's through parents or partners. I've heard people say, I left, but I still feel stuck. And trust me, that's totally normal to feel that way. Leaving a relationship is one thing, but the emotional healing that takes time. It's not something that happens just because you walked away. It's like you've been carrying all this baggage and now you're finally ready to unpack it, and you're staring at like, where do I even start? So the first thing I want you to understand is that it's okay to feel overwhelmed. You've been through a lot. Toxic relationships mess with your sense of self, your trust, your confidence. So when you walk away, you might feel like a big weight is lifted. But all these emotions come rushing in. And I hear this time and time again with my clients, the feeling of anger, sadness, guilt, confusion, sometimes all at once. And that's totally okay. It's not a sign that you failed at healing. It's actually part of the process. I had a client once who told me that she thought leaving would be like flipping a switch. She thought everything would magically feel better, but when the emotional weight hit her, she felt like she'd done something wrong. But the truth is, she didn't. She was right where she needed to be. I think people really allow themselves to talk about the emotional aftermath when it comes from leaving a toxic relationship, because your body is just in all different types of emotional roller coaster that you've been riding on for so long. And so you will have this sense of grief, which I mentioned before, this like anger, this sadness, this guilt, confusion, which is usually that bargaining stage where you're questioning of why did I do this, or questioning why certain things were happening. So know that definitely acknowledging that emotional aftermath is going to be number one when coming out of these toxic relationship spaces. And know in the first couple episodes, I'm going to really be diving deep into the process that I want you guys to take when it comes to healing after these toxic relationships. But I'm really going to break it down and give you more detail. It's just within the podcast, so make sure you stay tuned each and every time. So the next one is giving yourself permission to feel, right? And I know it sounds cliche because like every therapist says that you need to feel something, but also know that now it just is a big thing here. You got to give yourself permission to feel. I know it sounds simple, but so many of us try to just shove these feelings down or push them away because they're uncomfortable. But the first step in healing is letting yourself feel everything without judgment. A lot of times we try to push our feelings away, push them down, and it's not going to work in this process. There's no way to go feel like you can like step around it or not allow yourself to feel what's going on. So here's what I recommend. If you're not seeing a therapist, allow yourself to at least start journaling. And I know, like journaling sounds so cliche. Everyone is talking about it, but it's honestly one of the best ways to get all these emotions out of your head and onto paper. What I make sure to let my clients know, especially when going from a breakup, I've done my previous breakups when I've had those experiences, is allow for each emotion to have its own feeling. So if you're not able to just write out what exactly you want to talk about, sometimes an offering of guide can help. So what I invite clients to do is I want you to first write, I feel angry because whatever that feeling is. Then I feel sad because whatever that feeling is, right? Each one have its space. I'm scared, write down that what that feeling is, and I forgive, write that feeling is. I believe I heard this on an episode, and if you know what that is, please let me know so I can make sure to give credit where credit's due. But I felt like this space, like having each emotion have its space, made such a difference. So I want you to be able to kind of have that, and just each day, like especially in the beginning when I went to my past breakup, each day I could see like sometimes anger would have a full page and sometimes the other ones would have a little section. And sometimes the next day, maybe angry had just one sentence and then sadness had a whole page. Like it's going to change each and every day, but being able to see just the progress you've been going through, even if you did like a 14-day challenge just to allow yourself to do that, definitely makes a difference. Because know that you do not have to make sense of it. Just write. Write about how you feel, what hurts, what makes you angry. It's a way to process without holding it all in. Okay. So number 3, I want you to start small. Create space for healing. Now that you've given yourself permission to feel, let's talk about creating space for healing. And when I say space, I'm not talking about some grand gesture. I'm talking about small, everyday things that help you ground yourself and find some peace. So I had another client who felt like she had to do all these big things to start healing. She thought she had to take a big trip or do something dramatic to feel better. But healing doesn't have to look like that at all. It can be as simple as finding 5 minutes in the morning to just sit with your thoughts. And I know if it feels like hard for you to sit with your thoughts, then definitely whether it's a trusted friend or someone that you feel comfortable with to be able to do that. Maybe you're sipping on your coffee. Maybe you're just sitting in silence, but those little moments that you take for yourself add up. So I want you to think about what makes you feel safe. Is it journaling it out like we talked about before? Is it taking a walk in your favorite park? Is it doing some deep breathing or listening to calm music? Find small things that create space for healing and make them a part of your routine. So we're on number 4. So number 4 is allowing yourself to be patient with yourself through this process. Healing isn't something you can just rush. You're not going to wake up one morning and have magically be better, and that's okay. And know that you can be able to do these techniques and understand that it is a journey. I think a lot of times we feel as though healing is just some big, nice, beautiful, tropical destination, and that is not at all what healing is. Like it's a continuous process throughout your life because you're always learning, you're always kind of figuring out what's next, going from whether it's single into a relationship, you're always constantly learning something, because you're in a relationship with another person. So this is bound to happen. But I know for me, I used to get so frustrated when I wasn't over it fast enough. And I know a lot of you resonate with this. But one thing I've learned, and I tell my clients this all the time, is that healing is like peeling an onion. Each layer you peel back reveals something new, and sometimes it stings a bit, but every layer gets you closer to the core of who you really are. So I'm going to invite you to take it one day at a time. Celebrate the small wins, like getting through a tough day, feeling a little more peace, and even just recognizing your progress. Every step counts. And know that there's some moments where you have to either go 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, and sometimes it's 1 day at a time. So know that it's okay to allow yourself to be able to take the steps to do that. So to sum it up, here are the key things to remember as you start your healing journey that we went over for today. Acknowledge emotional aftermath. Know it's okay to feel overwhelmed. Number 2, give yourself permission to feel. Don't shove those emotions away. Allow yourself the time to do so, to allow yourself to really feel the emotions that are coming up for you. Start small. Find little ways to create space for healing. It's needed, and remember that it can be with a trusted friend, whether it's with a therapist, someone that you'd be able to, or even just through your journal, so just be able to just share that stuff with somebody makes a huge difference. Be patient with yourself. Healing takes time, and that's perfectly fine. This week, I want you to do one thing. Whether it's journaling, taking a walk, or just sitting with these emotions for a few minutes each day, start creating space for your healing because you're worth it. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, share your story with someone who might need it too, or just reflect on what your first steps look like. And don't forget to tune in next week. Make sure to follow. We'll be talking about how to rediscover who you are after the trauma. Be sure to look out for me every Wednesday, right here. Thanks so much for joining me today on Beyond You podcast. Remember, healing starts with small steps, and the fact that you're here today is already a big one. Next week, we'll dive into rediscovering who you are after the trauma. Trust me, it's one of the most powerful parts of the healing journey, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Until next time, take care of yourself. You're worthy of it.